Call this meeting to order. Let the record show that all board members are present. And this is a meeting on facilities and finance briefing. Okay, sir, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Chair Energy and board members. We have a lot to cover. A lot has happened since last month, so we'll go ahead and get started. Starting the mission in El Paso, we had some distinguished guests at the site last week. Mr. Hudson and Joshua Villalobos, the dean for the mission of El Paso, and the gentleman next to Mr. Uxer is Doc Ram. He's the superintendent for the project, and the guy in the yellow vest is our ECM on-site construction manager. As you can tell, quite a bit has developed since last month. The first thing I want to talk about is that they are about 2 weeks behind. They've had some issues with the steel, and a lot of this really has to do with the fact that the building is curved. So a lot of tolerances for the steel are now diminished because of the curvature. And on top of that, you have about ½ an inch tolerance, and some of these things were coming either undercut or overcut. So that's delaying a good 2 weeks. Fortunately, we're actually started meeting with them every week, going over the schedule. So we already in negotiations with them, coming up with a plan for them to catch up on these 2 weeks, and namely stacking the trades and divide areas of the building in thirds and approach it that way. One thing that we're starting to actually, we've seen it for the last few months, but it's really starting to come to peak. It's the manpower availability in this area. There's all over Texas, and probably even worse in El Paso right now. There's so much work going on that's hard to get people. Like when we have a change order or they get behind, typically we say, well, hire some more people. It's really getting to be an issue. If I had heard that we had a little bit of an issue that I'll mention in that context. That being said, all the contractors in general are doing pretty good despite that. But there's been some delays and this is an example of one of them. We feel comfortable that they will be able to catch up. They will after probably not next week, the week after that, we'll have a recovery plan and schedule associated with that. So by next August, I should be able to give you a little better idea of what the plan is. The sanitary sewer line from the site work is 95% complete. The water line from the main campus road to building 5 is 95% complete. Data line from the main campus to building C, which is it's kind of this way. It's that big building down here. Is about 35% complete. And Emerson Campus main road. It's this area right here. I don't know if you recall, but this is going to kind of bottleneck here a little bit, give a little more room in front of the existing building, and to slow down the traffic, they kind of force them to do this number. So this is already being reworked. We're trying extremely hard to get this, because right now this road is blocked. They're having to enter the campus around court, and they're trying real hard to get this done by the end of August, so when the school starts, we'll be done. I found out today that we ran into a little bit of an issue because the IT lines apparently are pretty shallow, so we probably going to have to encase them in concrete to protect them from the traffic weight above it. But we're still hoping that we can make all that work within the current schedule. The structural work, the building path slab here at grade is 95% complete. The CMU is 95% complete. You can see the CMU in these areas here, 95% complete. And first floor and second floor structural steel is 75% complete. They really should be at about 95% complete now, but they haven't been getting it. Mechanical work, first floor duct work is 40% complete. You'll see a picture in just a little while. Actually, no, you saw it before. You can tell, where is it, right here, that they're putting the ducts already there, 40%. Plumbing work, the rough end is 95% complete, and the electrical work is 90% complete. It's obviously in the first floor. And the ceiling lighting roof end is at 50% complete. They just
What were
started
these pictures taken?
about a week ago. The architectural work is not started yet. But this is gonna be a beautiful building when it's complete, but we did get a little bit behind on that. As far as the they're still behind, and I've had long conversations with them over this. They're improving at about a rate of 100,000 in billing a month, which is very small. But I think a lot of this is by the fact that until they get this steel completely done and in the dry, they can't start all these other activities, so that's causing them, it's showing here. They are improving a little bit, but not, the good thing is there's an index rate. Index of 1 is you're right on track. And most of our projects are on the 0.8, 0.9, there's a 1.7. These guys have been under 0.5, and now they're finally over 0.5, so that was a little bit of a good news.
Sir, can you go back to the previous
Yeah.
slide?
Uh-huh.
On the next one,
This-
that one.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a really tight area there on the road. Is there any consideration on removing those, the grass area and widening the road?
Yeah, actually what we're doing is, I wish I had brought a drawing, but I can do it at next meeting if you like. This area here, see how the road is straight now?
Mhm.
This edge is gonna come down like this, exactly to allow all this area in front of the building. And what's gonna do is the traffic will come like this and go back that way. I was a little concerned when I first saw this, I asked the architect, why are you kind of bottlenecking? Well, explain to me. First of all, to use a little more land in front, but mainly it's a strategy they use to slow down the cars. So they get in here, they have to change, so that kind of automatically slows down, which is right in front of the building. So to answer your question, there will be more land. It'll be like this in front of the building part, and the cars will just come like this. Same thing on the side. So in the future, if you have another building, you have the same exact situation where you can come like that on this side as well. Would you like me to bring a drawing next month, and I can show you exactly what it
Sure,
is?
we'll see it. But my other question was gonna be on there's apparently 400 houses going right behind that area.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And it's gonna take, I was wondering if they're gonna take any of their employees, because it's a whole new community that they're already.
Typical residential contractors are not as much in competition with
With
traditional, so hopefully not. Are you talking about this area back here?
Behind,
Behind?
you know how there's another building there?
The
It's
farm.
right behind, it's
I didn't know
430 houses or something like that.
Have they started it?
Yeah,
Yes, they started it because we're registering kids that don't have an address because they're living in a trailer house.
Oh, okay.
That's parked there, and they have no utility bills because they're hooked up to the lines directly.
Wow.
Wow.
I have to move
And the
out
school
there.
that we are opening
Uh-huh.
already, it's already over capacity.
Oh, wow.
By
The new school?
The new school, by 100 kiddos
crazy.
and something.
Is it because the open enrollment you're talking about?
No, because we're not sending open enrollment to the kids.
Oh, wow.
It's just
Yes, sir.
You're saying they're gonna have grass in the front, or are they going to make it desert landscape in front?
You caught me on that one, but I'm pretty sure it's desert landscaping.
Yeah, the whole thing is desert landscape.
Yes, sir. I'm pretty sure. If not, I'll correct myself.
Well, that's what.
But I'm pretty sure that's
what we were told
with
last
big
week.
trees.
There will be trees, and the bigger ones will be in the front. Yes. Yes. So, okay, going back, okay, now Northwest, as you can tell, they're making a lot of progress as well. This is a beautiful feature here. This is here it brings in some sunlight. It's a clerestory light, and it goes the whole length of the building here.
Nice.
So that'll be, it's a fantastic area. And the whole building is looking beautiful, starting to shape up. We did meet with Aztec and the college, and we talked with the deans as well, and we decided that they were indeed, due to some change orders we got going, they were due 24 days, which would put us October 4th, and everybody agreed, see, put us here October 4th. They'll bump us, if we're getting it too close to the meeting master, Dr. Tina, pretty much the dean for the Northwest campus, she said she was already planning, and we had to make a call because they're printing the schedules and all that, so we found just make a call, just let's not push ourselves into a box, let's wait till the spring. that will allow us for, because remember, we still got about 2 months to go, so there might still be some further delays. So we figured this was the prudent thing to do, and with agreement of everybody involved, the whole construction team, including the college. Site work, the wires inside concrete and rock walls are currently in construction. The steel arches for the main structure was actually completed this past Monday, which was a great break. The ductworks and VAV boxes, you all know what VAV boxes are? Variable air volume boxes. They control the flow. Instead of being continuous air at a different temperature, they actually bring in the air at the same temperature, but it's controlled, the volume is controlled depending what temperature you're trying to achieve. So those, all of that are in 90% installed, and having this area here, that's one area that they're lacking on the ductors and VAVs. Is the riding center here, that they still lack the walls there, and the flexibility. So the plumbing work in Walbrook and West Restroom will begin. Main lines for supply and return on and full bore are now 80% complete. Electrical work overhead and in Walbrook and on eastern areas of the building, which is these areas, are 95% complete. And wires underway. And the electrical boxes for the main mechanic, for the main electrical room have been installed, which now means they can start running home runs from that area to the different rooms. On the north side of the building classroom area, which is this area here, this whole part, once the colors get approved by the campus, they're ready to paint. And the southern side, this area in the back, should by the end of July should be ready for paint as well. So they're moving very aggressively on catching up. Northwest, they dropped a little bit on the invoicing, but I believe that will be recovered, in the next few months, particularly now with this extension. There's still 68. I think the ratio for these were 0.7. So Rio Grande, it's moving right along. As you can tell, they're already finishing areas inside for the parking garage. They poured the third floor. When did they pour that? Last week, I believe.
Last Monday.
No, what?
Last Monday.
Last Monday. And now the third floor, and now all we lack is this middle area here. So I think they finally got caught in the system. They're progressing very nicely. The next pour actually be the week of July 29th, which is this area here in the middle. Only this area here, this is all complete, so there won't be any more work now until the project is supposed to be done. The structural floor, shear walls and columns are complete. The third floor south and east, elevator, stairs and columns are in progress. These are the stair here. There's another stair back here, and elevator, and there's an elevator here, and then there's another stair back here. The temple work has not started. Third floor storm drains and sanitary sewer lines will be completed as the parking lot, and I explained that at the last meeting. As you come up, those lines come up as well. This is actually right before the meeting. I got great news. This has been something that was really concerning us, because El Paso Water Utilities were really dragging their feet on this. And we wasn't impacting the schedule, but if we couldn't get them on site within the next 30, 45 days, it would really start affecting us. Well, I just heard before I came here, they were planning on 2-3 weeks to be there, so perfect timing. So we're very excited about that. The electrical subset disconnect meeting for main service has been done, so we'll have the power for the main building before the end of August. So that's another there's been some major landmark dates, but they're really making progress. As far as they're as good as they can get, I think they've been doing very nicely as far as keeping track of the curve.
Mr. Evans, before you go to the
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
meeting costume, the crack in the beam and stair B,
Yes, sir.
how
how are we gonna make sure, that just makes me nervous when we have a crack on what,
understand that.
second floor?
But don't concern about that, because we've gotten guarantees from the structural engineer, if anything, he's going overboard, I believe, on how to fix this. But fortunately, it's not a loaded slab, it's a small span, and there's a way that where they inject and then they wrap it. And so it's really belts and suspenders. So if anything, that beam would actually become probably stronger. So don't be concerned about that. I've gotten assurance of the engineer that's an easy fix. It should be okay. It's just a small section.
And also to just kind of complement that answer, so that those beams basically repeat on the following floors, and a correction has been already addressed to,
That's a good
for
point.
those cracks not to happen on the additional floors.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, that's an
Thank you
excellent
both, I
point.
just,
Yeah.
that keeps me up.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, I got on the phone right away, but it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Thank you.
So on Valle Verde, this project is going very well, great contractor. They're, as you can tell, they're even doing the roof right now. Now, we did have, I still owe you the change orders for this project. And let me explain to you why I haven't brought it yet. We finally reached agreement with the contractor on the amount of days, and that's why now we adjusted to November 21. What we don't agree is the cost. So we're still going back and forth because we really feel if they need to substantiate a lot better their claim, and right now they haven't been doing that. So I apologize. I really thought I was going to have them for this meeting to come present you the change orders, but I'd rather put off one more month and make sure we're paying the due amount on this.
Are you talking about the action items that we have, or you were going to add those as action
I
items?
will at the next meeting.
Okay.
What it is any change order over $50,000, I have to bring it to you,
Right.
and these will be pretty high. I mean, in the 90, 60, even, I think there's even over 100.
So they're not posted for today, was my question.
Exactly,
Thank
because
you.
we're not ready yet. The days were ready, but
Yes,
really
sir.
the dollars is why I need to bring it here, so that's why I don't see it. But I figure I may as well give you a heads up on the amount of days, so you'll know at least reach an agreement on that. The one concern we have right now, and again, this is a heads up, is we have an issue with the curtain wall, which is the glass in the front of the building, and the slab. I have some drawings, I can show you that later when this materializes. But the issue is, right now, they're saying the cost is gonna be like $135,000 and put us 40 days behind. We don't agree. It's a lack of coordination between the slab and the glass. The glass should go right in front of the floor slab, and it's not. It's actually heavy, so they're gonna have to come back at all these windows and cut the slab back to allow the window to go through. So, and I'll once I bring that change order to you, I'll explain. I have the drawings, but I really don't wanna drag this meeting too long, but just in case somebody is curious about that. But just at this point, we have a real issue with the amount of days they're asking, particularly the dollar amount too, but particularly the days. So I called for a meeting with the actually vice president of the company next Tuesday, and we're all gonna meet and discuss this. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. And this is another one, actually, this is what I was gonna get to when I first started talking about labor availability. The contractor that comes and cuts these, you could bring in like 20 people and cut them all over. But the contractor is Canberra, which is doing all the I-10 work, so they can only afford like 2-3 people. And so that's part of the reason it's delayed as well. But I will certainly cover, once we have more facts and we have a better idea of what the delay was, I'll update it. This is just a heads up, so we'll know this
It
is.
wasn't their fault, whose fault was it?
Yeah.
Oh, the architect, absolutely. This one is errors and omissions, no doubt.
So that change order is not gonna come back to, you know, that,
Uh-huh.
is not gonna be a cost to,
Yes, see, the way this works, the architect represents the college, and the contract is with the college, not with the contractor. So typically, if there's an errors and omission, which in this case we actually believe it is, because there's no betterment, there's nothing, if anything, it's just delaying us, what we have to pay it. And then we can go back to the architect and says, under your errors and omissions, now you owe us this money. Does that make sense?
So we
can't
might
have-
be able to recover it. or we should?
We should. We should. This one particularly, actually, there's some other ones that we've been talking with the EPCC in this particular project that we feel not 100% of the change order, but at least a portion of the change order should be the architect's. And the architect's very good, don't get me wrong, but on this one, it's just a coordination issues that really kind of fell through. So with the intent right now is to get these change orders, again, at the end of the project, we're gonna evaluate the major change orders. The major, because and I'm speculating right now, but I'm thinking about $250,000, which is a big amount. So we'll need to, but we need to evaluate, we need to be careful that we only assessing not the, if you recall, the betterment part. In other words, is just the cost, but even just that cost change is still a pretty good amount of money. And the one thing that concerns a little bit, and we can certainly talk with the architect about this, but we can get recuperation, is on the amount of time that we lose. Because like, for example, if we lose 40 days, that spring semester is going to be in jeopardy. I'm really hoping we can talk them back, because I think what they're doing is taking the 40 days, and they don't have to claim the 40 days, because if they were at 15 days, they could start right behind it. And this is what I want to talk to them about. Once you get this area done, start on this. You don't have to wait till you're completely done with all the areas. So I want to still have a little more discussion with them about this. But overall, they are very good contractors, and they're doing a great job. It's just
They're not very good if they're messing up like that.
Pardon?
They're not very good if they're messing up like that.
No, this is the contractor.
They are their
It's
fault.
not the
Yeah.
contractor's fault. I mean, this is literally the architect.
But
It's a
Moore is
coordination
supposed
thing.
to be real good too.
I'm sorry?
I mean, Harris Moore.
Oh, they're outstanding. I absolutely love them, but I think on this one, maybe the rest to get the drawings out, what happened is the structural design, the structure, and then the architect designed the window, the glass coming in front of it, but I don't think that was so closely coordinated. We're talking about maybe half an inch or an inch, you know, and I don't think that was coordinated just properly to allow the building. Because you look at the drawings, looks like it works like a charm, but once you start to do this, that's where you have the discrepancy. So overall, structural work, the shadow boxes, which are these boxes around here, they're 100% complete. That's another change order, by the way, that we believe was errors and omissions as well, because there was a number of details on attaching those things and extra welding that was never included in the drawings, and yet came out as additional information from the architect, but that additional information cost some money. So that's another one that we're going to evaluate as well. The third floor, ductwork roofing is 65 complete. The third floor roofing, water on the plumbing, sewer and hydraulic piping, 65% complete. The third floor, overhead roofing, 7% complete, and in-wall is 60% complete. Sheet rock installation, the first floor is 90% complete, which is awesome. And the roofing is 60% complete. This picture was taken about a week as well. Now it's a little more, 60%. And the third floor, the interior framing is complete. They're doing pretty good. They dropped a little bit here. We're still keeping in mind too, in this case, we're still keeping the 10-22 day, although this will move 30 days. So that might soften up a little bit as it goes with one more month in here. But overall, it's not bad at all. Valle Verde looks fantastic. I really can't wait for you all to see it. I just put some more pictures here so you can know all the computers, great effort from IT on this, great effort. In one day, they brought all their resources and got this done. All the furniture is in. And it's substantially complete. Now, there are a few loose items still. The equipment bin is 95% complete, the computer is new, furniture is all done, lunch list is 70% complete, CCTV 80%, AV equipment about 50% complete, and the card access control, we decided, it's kind of a long story, but we decided to go do it through the college because we could basically save $33,000. So it was almost a no-brainer, really. But that, of course, it's not done yet, but the building can be locked up in these. It can be superior.
One of the trees is dying.
Pardon?
One of the trees is dying. one on the left.
This one here?
Yes.
Yeah, it sure looks that way. I know that, the landscape punch list is huge. Remember, I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
Jennifer
the
presented last
pages.
week? Her punch list, there's a lot of stuff. She really nailed them pretty good on this. And so I'm sure there's a lot of things they're gonna be
There's a
correcting.
few dead trees there, they will be replaced.
Yeah. So I think, but it's a beautiful, gorgeous building. It's just amazing. Grass Mountain, as you can tell, it's pretty much done as well. They are still dragging their feet on the punch list. They really are. And we're really beating them up on this
The tile's in now.
Sir,
The tile's in.
that looks
I walked
fantastic.
through it yesterday.
I'm sorry?
I walked through it
It
yesterday.
looks good, doesn't it? Yeah, I was there middle of last week because I wanted to get these pictures with all the furniture in and the floor. Looks fat. I almost wish we had done this from day one. But it really looks great. I
Those
mean,
almost look like the pictures that we looked at in the very beginning before anything was
that's a
constructed.
good point, yeah.
It looks
It
really
does.
good.
And this is like a study area, this is like the sticky spaces here, display area. That's where you go right through and go to the existing building over there. This is where the computer, the classroom, you get all the furniture is in, this is the interior design, the lounge area here. This is just your typical classroom, and does look very good. This is the fashion here. And this is like a gathering area here outside. There's some faculty offices here, and there's like a sink refrigerator, microwave back there. And so the equipment move in, basically is moving, starting tomorrow. Actually, I heard that some of it already started Monday. Computers moving, key connectivity still pending. The reason it's still pending is they are not done with IT punch list, so they still need to wrap that up. The furniture is still 97% complete. There's a few tables out here and chairs in that other entry around the corner, those we still need to put those out. And the punch list is approximately 70% complete, CCTV is 95% complete, and the AV equipment is 95% complete. And this is, I mean, for an amount of money, I mean, you look at the construction cost, $5 million, including all the change orders, it really was a very good deal. And it integrates so well with the rest of the campus. Safety, no change from last month, just more hours worked. And we're at 343,590 hours, only those two minor safety incidents that we read. This is not probably, it's pretty great. The schedule planner, so we have EPCC and Trans Mountain substantially complete, so that's the accomplishment. So we got 4 to go, 2 down, 4 to go. And the Via Verde classroom in Northwest, we're planning on the spring of 2020. And Mission Del Paso, the spring mini master, and then Rio Grande in the fall mini master for now. Of course, there's still a long way to go. And here's the current substantial versions and the final substantial completion dates and the planning.
Just so you might want to correct that, that says fall 2018. So 19 on the first one. On the printout, it actually shows 20.
Good catch, thank you, yeah, it does. Okay, so fall, I stand corrected. Trans Mountain Fall 2019, we're not traveling down. So, okay, overall bond budget. Overall, we're still, bond-wise, we still have a 4.8 million contingency available, so we're still doing well. Probably, actually, I was talking to Frank earlier, probably the one that's a little bit in jeopardy, and I might have to go back, see if we can maneuver stuff just a little bit, is Northwest. We got some outstanding change orders yet that we need to approve. This amount, 216, I just approved 3 today, that brought it down by 40,000, and we still got a little, so we might, it won't be a whole lot, but I think we'll still need a little more money on that one. But everything else is real well. This hasn't changed at all, the overall budget. Okay, now going to action items. Purchase of equipment for Northwest Custom and Lab Building. We asking the 308,000, which includes a 10% contingency. The reason, and the next, the next action item, you'll see I didn't put a contingency in, just to preempt the question why I did the contingency here and not on the next one. The reason I put a condition on this one, it still needs to go to Aztec for pricing. We feel very comfortable that the numbers we have are good, includes their markup, but just in case if there's any surprises, since we don't have the firm numbers from the contractor, we put a 10% contingency on this one. On the AV for Valle Verde that I'll ask next, we already have the price from the contractor, so we know we're good.
In terms of the price, sorry, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
For the pricing, because you indicated that you still have to go back to them to get the pricing.
Mhm.
So is it because of the timing in terms of when the
Exactly.
actual comes up?
That's-
Okay,
yeah.
so there's no way to know that amount, I guess, for purposes of a meeting?
You would probably almost have, and because this is a very long list of equipment, so
Okay.
you'll take probably at least 30 days to price. And what we want to be able to do is, once we get that final price, if we're within the 10%, which we should be, we actually should be within the 280, which is the number we have. Then we can tell them right away, okay, go for it, so we can have the equipment there by October.
So you come up with this amount of the 308,000 based on industry standards?
Yeah, let me show you, let me just, actually, that's a good question. Let me show something. It's this one. So here's all the equipment. As we can do, there's very detailed with actual prices. We even put added the cost for, even put a small 4% contingency, added 10% for the contractor. So all these have already been priced. It's really, since it still has to be verified by the contractor, we felt a little more comfortable to have 10%, just in case there's a small discrepancy.
Is that in the backup? Is this in the backup? In the-
No, it's not.
Okay.
This, I was wondering if somebody asked the question, I have a lot of stuff, hidden slides and everything, just in case you asked. But
Okay.
it's not part of the presentation,
Yes, sir.
but I'll be glad to provide this to you if you think that'll be helpful.
I'm just.
Okay. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Just because we're still waiting on them, I want you to make sure personally
Yes, sir.
that they don't say, wait a minute, it was, it's all right if we go ahead and go to 308.
Oh, no, and he's here, that's the first thing I told him. That, I told him last week, I'm going for 308, but I got 280. So, and that's the way we have it budgeted. I just want to make sure if there's something.
I
he
know
can
what
come
it is
back-
when I have a budget and they say, well, here's the number I want, but by the way, here's the number, just
Spend it.
just in case.
And-
Well, tell them that just in case, it probably doesn't sound good.
But the one thing ECM is real good at doing is verifying those costs. We do that in every change order. And that's part of the reason a lot of times we're a little slow on getting change orders processed, because we feel sometimes that they're not, and sometimes we may be wrong, but at least there's a check and balance
Well,
in there.
we know that everybody is honest and has just loaded with mother's integrity.
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
But you're gonna just tell us that.
Yes,
that's
sir.
gonna happen.
I will certainly personally keep an eye on this guy. Oh, by the way, you know who he is, right? He's Frank Spencer. He was here at the last meeting. He's the president of Aztec Contractors.
Well, we didn't-
And they've been great to work with.
We didn't want to behind his back, so we watched him while we said that.
Tam, you want to read 5.1?
Yes, sir. Item 5.1, Mr. Pettis will request the Board of Trustees to formally approve a proposed change order to Aztec Contractors Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $308,000, which includes a 10% contingency for the purchase and installation of equipment for the upcoming Northwest Classroom Lab Building Construction Project.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Now, here's the audiovisual equipment, and on this one, we did have the contract already priced, and we actually, we knocked about $40,000 back. There's some things we really didn't feel it was in line with their contract. He was in line probably with some other contract they had, but with our contract he wasn't, so, we actually were under budget on the AV amount of floor 10, which is gonna help us in the equipment side, because we actually, the equipment and the furniture for Valle Verde, we actually brought those under budget. So, but we were, I don't know if you recall this, but we were way over budget on equipment, and just what we saved on the furniture and what we saved on the AV will allow us to purchase what we need for the equipment, and we'll be bringing that once we got that list finalized as well. So.
Great, Camry, 5.2.
Item 5.2, Mr. Pettis will request the Board of Trustees to formally approve a proposed change order to HB Construction in an amount not to exceed $1,410,000 for the purchase and installation of audiovisual equipment for the upcoming Valle Verde Classroom Lab Building Construction Project.
Is there a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed.
The final approval is the sample plaque designs for all campuses. And this is gonna be a little hard to read, already can tell. But let me tell you what the main differences are. Hopefully, maybe what you have in the books reads a little better, it looks a little distorted. So in this instance, and I'm gonna show you every single campus. The big difference is that you don't see yet is once we send these to the contractors, some of these will read 2020 because that's when they're going to be substantial completion. But we'll certainly adjust that as we know those substantial completion dates for sure. So this is for the Valle Verde campus. The main difference, as you can tell, there says El Paso Community College, and they all will say the same thing. Has the project name, as the campus, and then says the best place to start and finish. Then as the board members, and then the program manager, the architect, and the contractor at the bottom. These are big plaques. These are 42 by 42, and they're made out of aluminum. The big difference, there's two versions, and I'll need your input on that, what version you think is most appropriate. So on this version here, on the left, version 1, it includes the previous board members under the current board members, the same position. So in other words, Mr. Arfiero is under Mr. Haggerty because he was the past chair. And so it's the same thing with the secretary, Ms. Solis. So there's two options. One, where we keep them under the appropriate title, or we put them, list the current board and put them before Dr. Serrata, between the last board member, current board member, and put them in there. So I'd like to get some feedback on that, so we feel version 1 or version 2.
I think version 2 would be consistent with what's the plaque at Valle Verde's architecture building.
I agree, number 2.
Anybody else? You want to make a motion, Dr. Hammer?
Make a motion that we go with number 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So, and so you'll know, we're still in discussions with the construction team and particularly EPCC on the locations. So that's why I'm not showing locations yet. We're still debating that. I think the only one we have pretty much established is Rio Grande. As you can tell, all these, it says interior building plaque detail. Admission last Friday, the dean and EPCC representatives agreed that admission will be exterior. They'd rather put it outside the building, but mainly because in the, I don't know if you recall the way the lobby is, the lobby area, but there's not many places to put the plaque. So they're thinking about maybe by the main entry in the wall, it's a big plaque, so it will be permanently displayed, but it will be outside. All the other ones will be inside.
Do we have an update on when we're going to do the groundbreak? The only reason why I put my schedule.
We're trying to finalize dates. We want to make sure that the faculty and students are back. And so we're working with the campus deans to find the best date to do that. Trans Mountain will be first, so we're probably looking at the first or second week of September. And then the transportation technology, or shortly after that. We just wanna make sure that, we can do, have like a diesel engine in there and have actual interactive displays, going on for the media and people visiting, so it can be an interactive experience. So once we finalize all those details, we hope to have those dates soon. Thought we'd have them by today, but we're still working through some of those logistics.
Thank you.
I think it makes a lot of sense to make sure that we have activity in them, as opposed to empty buildings.
Anybody have anything else?
Now I just have all the other campuses, so you can kind of see what they say. And then just, I didn't know if I should put version 1 or 2, and I guess it can go on record, version 2. Version 2.
We're good? Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Okay, so the meeting is now adjourned at 5:11 PM.